Thank you for joining me today in Ron's Basement. Does it feel like to you that there's maybe something big going on? Like maybe something we aren't even aware of? Do you ever wonder or just get an intuitive feeling? I mean, we dig in, right? We learn about the central banks. We learn about the long-term real value of things like silver and gold. It's a very confusing subject to try to figure out what's going on in the world economy and with the central banks. It's like, reminds me of the Wizard of Oz, right? Where in the end of the movie, it's exposed that there's just this kind of weak man behind this big mirage of power and mystical abilities. Doesn't it feel like that? And that maybe we're getting to a point where the fact that the Western central banking system has been based on, I don't know, what do we call it? Funny money? That maybe things are going to come to a head. Maybe they are coming to a head. I don't know, right? I'm not a guru. Nobody's a guru. I'm not standing at the end of the path with a bright light saying, everyone, you come. I in the basement have discovered what is really going on. No, I'm not saying that. The best that we can do together is I can walk down the path with you, and it feels like a real treacherous path right now with a flashlight, doing our best to look around what's right in front of us and discern what's going on. Try to make the next right move. I want to talk about what's gone on over the last, let's say, 40, 50 years with the central banking system and why it shows that, yeah, this whole system really is kind of based on funny money, and maybe in the end, those of us who have invested in precious metal mining stocks, in physical silver, in physical gold, for those of you that have done that, are going to be safe and secure. Let's get started right now. And when we shine our flashlight on the three major crises that have occurred in, let's just say, the last 20 years or so, when the dot-com bubble burst, when the real estate, the great financial crisis in '08, and then finally, just a few years back when the pandemic hit, all of those crises have been met with an increasingly severe, extreme amount of money printing, debt creation, just to kind of patch things over, and it feels like it's getting to the end right now. So in the unipolar world that we lived in over the last 50 years, with all this debt being built up and accrued, it created an illusion of wealth. But now we're to a point where there's no way that all that debt could ever be paid back. And it feels like the Fed is getting to the central banks of the world. It's just not the United States, the Western central banks, Japan, the ECB, like they're getting to the end of the road, like the bill is coming due. And maybe that explains why the Eastern countries, Russia, China, the BRICS nations, are forming their own system. Have you ever seen a chart of total debt to GDP? I saw a chart the other day and it blew my mind. You know, up until we went off the gold standard in 1971, total debt seemed to be about equal to GDP. But after that, the GDP number went up a little bit over the last 50 years, but the debt number just absolutely skyrocketed. And that's because at that point in 1971, new money could be created, new debt could be created that didn't have to be backed by real assets like silver, or in this case, gold. And with this whole fiat money system post-1971 for the United States, it's all based on confidence and trust. And we could go on for hours about that, right? However, what happens when some of that confidence and some of that trust starts to erode? Again, is that what's going on with the Eastern countries wanting to move to their own reserve currency? What's going to happen to the Western central banks when there's some cracks in the foundation that start to cause serious problems? And are we further starting to see that now with runaway inflation, much worse than is officially being reported, a stock market that's having a rather severe correction? People are going to be looking, what are we going to do with our money? Where are we going to put our money? Stocks are bad. Bonds are bad. Real estate's bad. Are we going to go to crypto? Well, crypto is even more of a confidence and trust game than the central banks. I think people will take another look, and it's not going to take a lot of them, but there will be a portion of people, and maybe even a flood of people, who start to take a look at silver, at gold, and platinum, and palladium, all the precious metals. And what could happen to gold in particular is potentially astounding. And look, calculating these numbers is confusing and a little difficult. But what I have read is that if the Fed wanted to back just a third of their outstanding liabilities with gold, that would mean that gold would have to be revalued upwards of $11,000 per ounce. And with gold and silver having been the real timeless money, right, it makes sense to us why the fiat central banks, the Western central banks, look at gold and silver as the enemy. And it's been well documented that they've managed the price lower over the years. We're in this together, and I'm honored and privileged that you, from somewhere in the world, decided to join me right now here in Ron's Basement. Thank you. If you get some value from my content, you can subscribe right here. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. We want to hear from you, and we want to learn about you. You can turn on the bell so you get notified every time I put out a new video. And don't forget, you are free to share this video with anyone you like. Thank you. I don't know for sure any more than anyone else does what will happen. But when I look at the two F's, when I look at the facts and I trust my gut feel, it just feels like things are coming to a head, and at the end of the road, things do happen quickly. Let's all be safe. Let's all do our best to protect ourselves. I will be here to help navigate these choppy waters. I'll put out a new video every day. So don't forget, you've got a friend for life, and I'll see you next time.